If there is one thing we have all rediscovered since the pandemic started, it's just how important politics really are. Many are now looking to relocate because they believe their states either mismanaged the pandemic or shut down too many businesses. Before looking ahead to the next election, I thought we should examine the last presidential election to see which states voted the most conservatively. I also put out a video on the most liberal states as well, and that'll be linked at the end of the video. Tennessee is one of the most beautiful states in all of America. There are friendly people and a wide variety of living options. You can live in a rural town, a mid-sized city, or a large metro area like Nashville or Memphis. Over 60% of residents voted for Donald Trump, while just under 38% voted for Joe Biden. In fact, Joe Biden only won 3 counties in all of Tennessee. So, why does Tennessee vote red? Many Tennesseans want to keep taxes as low as possible, probably because Tennessee isn't exactly the wealthiest of states. Most of the state is very rural, and they're much more concerned about tornadoes or wild animals showing up at their front door than monitoring their neighbors' activities. So, they prefer policies that are generally less intrusive. If you're like me, you don't know too much about Alabama, but there are a lot of stereotypes. While I'm sure they have their fair share of problems, they have been experiencing a lot of growth in their economy and job market. They have surprisingly beautiful beaches, and of course, the Crimson Tide football team. Alabama voters went 62% for Donald Trump and nearly 37% for Joe Biden, with Democratic strongholds primarily in Montgomery and central Alabama. A high percentage of Alabama conservatives have a religious background from Christianity, Mormonism, or Catholicism. Many believers are pro-life and tend to prefer less government intervention, which leads to many conservative votes. Kentucky has a large distribution of residents who are poor but not poor enough to qualify for government programs. They also have a group of top earners who enjoy the lower cost of living, and both of these groups typically favor lower taxation policies to position themselves to best provide for their families, which led to 62% of the state voting for Trump and 36% of the state voting for Biden. Only 2 counties in Kentucky voted blue, and every other county voted for the red team. Kentucky is a state that offers a crossover between Midwestern hospitality and Southern charm. Well, at least until basketball season. South Dakota has been in the news the last couple years because their governor refused to shut down businesses during the pandemic. Many have criticized this move, but there's honestly a lot that outsiders don't get about South Dakota. After all, they only have 2 cities with a population of over 30,000 residents. Their main industries are agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism. Just under 62% voted for Donald Trump, and almost 36% went for Joe Biden. Traditionally, blue-collar workers have supported the Democratic Party, but there was some uncertainty regarding how the Biden-Harris ticket views American energy, and South Dakotan residents voted for the candidate they believed would keep their industries afloat. Arkansas doesn't exactly have a pristine reputation, but parts of the state have quickly improved. The state contains multiple parks, scenic byways, and over 600,000 acres of lakes. Fayetteville is actually rated as one of the best cities to live in all of America. Only 35% of Arkansas residents voted for Joe Biden, with eastern Arkansas being the biggest concentration of Democratic support. And over 62% of residents voted for Donald Trump. Conservatives here really believe in limited government and less entitlement programs because the state is heavily based on the local churches and community collaboration. They feel that this is more effective than what many may feel is governmental overreach. No one out west is surprised that Idaho is on this list. Northern Idaho and Boise have been growing like crazy as of late, and many people enjoy the access to the great outdoors, new developments, and growing job opportunities. 64% of Idahoans voted to re-elect Donald Trump, and 33% voted to change it up with Joe Biden. Idaho residents have traditionally been highly religious, very anti-government intervention, and value more parental rights when it comes to raising their families. In many cases, the government has very little input on how many Idahoans live their day-to-day lives, and many voted red to keep this way of life. The state of Oklahoma is one of the most active in Tornado Alley. They are also known for being the subject of the popular Rodgers and Hammerstein's production. My, how times have changed. Today, some of their main industries involve healthcare and technology, but many places still have that old-time Route 66 feel to them. In the 2020 election, over 65% of voters went red, and just over 32% went blue. Every single county in Oklahoma actually voted for Donald Trump. In Oklahoma, many are concerned about increased taxes, people in bigger cities legislating many of their traditions away, and having their free speech rights revoked. I have known a couple people from Oklahoma, and boy do they exercise their free speech. Now, I thought North Dakota would skew conservative, but I didn't know they voted Republican at a higher percentage than any state in the Deep South. Almost 90% of North Dakota's land is used for agricultural purposes. They are the nation's leading producer of honey, and if you didn't know anything about North Dakota, it's probably because it's the least visited state in all of America. Trump tallied up 65% of the vote, and Biden just 32%. Essentially, the entire state voted for Donald Trump, and there's an obvious reason. Many North Dakotans voted for Trump because of his aggressive attempt to be energy independent. North Dakota is full of towns and even counties that are populated really only because of the oil industry. So, voting Democrat increases the likelihood that they would lose their jobs. West Virginia is in the heart of Appalachia and is widely regarded as one of the most beautiful states in all of America. Unfortunately, West Virginia scores low for income, education, and quality of life. But like many other poor places, there are many incredibly friendly people here who find themselves starting behind the 8 ball. 29% of West Virginians voted for Joe Biden, and an overwhelming 68% voted for Donald Trump. So, why is the margin this high? Well, West Virginia has a strong coal, manufacturing, and blue-collar workforce, but they've seen many of their jobs shipped overseas or legislated away due to environmental regulations. Now, only 5 states have a higher percentage of citizens underneath the poverty line. So, like North Dakota, they voted for the candidate they thought would help them keep working. When most people think of Wyoming, they think of wide open spaces, national parks, and enjoying the Rocky Mountains. The Cowboy State averages only 6 people every square mile, and they are the least populated state in all of America. Over 70% of Wyoming residents voted to re-elect Trump, and Biden received only 26% of the presidential vote. Wyoming is a top-producing oil state, so increased environmental regulations could decrease tax revenue and even job growth. Because of how sparsely the state is populated, many residents are fiercely independent, and if they had to pay higher taxes, give up their guns, and remove oil revenue from the state economy, they may just start a revolt. Now, if you tend to lean to the left, or none of these states appeal to you, you can click on one of the other videos playing on the screen to watch a video that may interest you a bit more. Thank you for stopping by, and of course, take care.